Hey,
What's up, man?
hey, what's up, man?
Hey, man, chilling, man. What's the deal?
Man, look, boy, look. It's been a minute. Season three, episode one,
It has
and
been. It has been.
so one thing about us, man, we not want to shy away from a touchy subject.
Oh no, no,
Yeah,
definitely not.
yeah, and if there's ever a touchy subject, it's definitely what we got going on tonight.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And I know it's dying down a little bit, and I had a chance to kind of read over everything, look at the interviews, and just come to a conclusion, and or just come to a rational stance. But either way, we'll see what happens. But before we get going, man, any shout outs you got going on, man? What you got?
Um, Let me think, man. Ashley, man, I'm gonna give a shout out to my wife, man. I'm gonna give a shout out to my wife and Jerry, man. Look, man, a lot of people don't know, man. A brother turned 50 a few months ago, man. Brother turned 50. Yeah, so I'm half a century. And my
Wow,
wife let
man.
me get a puppy. She
So,
let me get a dog for my birthday, man. And so yeah, we got a little golden doodle. He's almost 7 months old. His name is Jasper. Yeah,
all right, my
yeah.
man. Well, well, I got two shout outs. One, of course, is to our nephew, Sammy. I know Joanne don't like putting stuff out there, but we got to do what we got to do.
Yeah.
Sammy was admitted to the undergraduate business school, King Fagler at UNC
Hmm.
Chapel Hill. As a business major, he's also a finalist for the JP Morgan Chase summer internship, which is
Oh
one of the
yeah.
hardest internships in the country to get. And he's a finalist. He's flying to New York sometime. So we're proud of him. But definitely, I have to give a shout out to my wife, Tanya. She was
Are you
chosen
just doing this
as
because
the
I shout out my wife? I mean, come on, man.
what
I'm
what you did now. What you did, you refreshed my recollection. How about that?
all right.
You refreshed my recollection. Um, Shout out to my wife Tanya. She was chosen as a Fulbright administrator. One of 16 administrators chosen across the country. She's going to be traveling to Finland in January. Um, Very selective, competitive process. She's an outstanding principal, outstanding administrator, and it was just highly, highly competitive. So just a shout out to her on that awesome achievement.
Yeah.
So other than that, man, we
Yeah.
can get ready to dive in, man. So
Yeah.
what we
We can
talking
dive
about tonight,
in.
man? What we talking about?
I'm going to for the people who are listening, I'm going to drop a link in the chat. So if any point you all want to kind of hop on and chime in, feel free. I mean, you can hop in. If you're afraid of being on camera, or you don't feel comfortable being on camera, you can shut that off. But we'll have it on. We'll have the chat for you.
Yeah,
So go ahead.
yeah. And if you got any comments, please, or any questions or any comments, please, uh, type in the box so we can see what you're talking about.
Yep. So just in case there are some people that may be up here who have no idea what's going on in New Bern or New Bern High School football, I'm gonna post a little. I'm gonna do a little video real quick so everybody can get caught up on it. Here we go. Ooh. Video. Let's see where the video at.
So there's this high school out of eastern North Carolina called New Bern High, and back in 2022, their football team was absolutely destroying every school they came across. I mean, they had beaten over 7 teams by more than 40 points, even shutting down one school 61-0, finishing out the season with 17 wins and 0 losses. Well, needless to say, they ended up taking home the state championship. This was against Grimsley High School out of Greensboro, 40-28. But then, later on in June, an investigation had opened up into the eligibility of several players throughout that season, and the more they looked, the crazier things got. You see, further investigation determined that although several players had been given failing grades by their teacher, those grades had been accessed and changed by somebody higher up just prior to the end of the year. And as news of this began to break out, their head coach, Torrey Nowell, resigned from his position. Just 15 days later, the principal as well as the guidance counselor were both suspended. A few days after that, the principal officially announced his retirement. Now, essentially, the North Carolina High School Athletic Association states players must maintain a 2.0 GPA and are required to attend a certain percentage of classes to maintain their eligibility. And since several ineligible students had dressed and played in those games, New Bern High was stripped of all 17 wins, their championship title, and are also required to pay back more than $38,000 in playoff revenue. But through it all, many argue the title should be turned over to Grimesley. However, the Athletic Association has also stated the championship will be vacated, meaning no champion will be listed for the season of 2022. What do y'all think?
Alrighty.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Don't know where to start. First of all, man, I was at the game. And I drove to New Bern to check out a lot of games, and they were a dominant team, right? And one thing I know about fans, what is fan short for?
I don't know.
Fan is short for fanatic,
Oh yeah. Okay.
right? And one thing about a fan, and I'm a fan, I've been a fan too, and when you have your heart and everything into these situations, when something like this happens, sometimes you don't use reason, and sometimes your emotions get the best of you, and you don't want to see the facts for what they are, the situation for what they are.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of cases, this is one of those cases. Like I said, we grew up in New Bern, man. You know what I'm
Yeah, I
saying?
was about to say,
Yeah.
we're
So
both New
don't
Bern
get,
High graduates.
we're both
Um,
1990 New Bern High. I mean,
yeah.
I am New Bern to the core.
Yep.
Uh, Out of Trent Court, out of Trent Court, Rocky Run. Like I said before, and we know the culture, so it's not like this is something that is foreign to us or we don't understand dynamics at play.
Yeah.
We totally understand it.
And just to
But
chime in, 1990, 92, I played for the New Bern Bears varsity
yeah,
at New Bern High School. Uh, Played with two pros, Jeremy McDaniel, Brian Simmons on the same. Not too many people can say they play with pros.
two pros.
Yeah, two pros. Brian Simmons out of University of North Carolina, then went to Cincinnati, and Jeremy McDaniel, Craven Tibbs,
Yeah,
played at Arizona State.
yeah.
And even my man Al Key, New Bern High School Hall of Fame. So we had some Sean Simpson, University of New Mexico. Yeah, we had some players on that team. So from the athlete perspective, I definitely have some things that I'm gonna kind of chime in and share my experience. My brother, on the other hand, he can share his perspective because he's an educator and he's actually dealt with kind of student athletes and teachers and principals changing grades, but I won't steal his thunder.
Yeah, and here's the thing: what we got to do, and we're going to get into some of the specifics here with this situation, but we have to put it in context, right? And one thing that a lot of people don't do sometimes is that uh, you got to separate your emotions and just look at the circumstances in context, and you have to be intellectually honest with certain things,
Yeah.
right? Now, uh, anybody, and they would be disingenuous if they didn't say this. And this is just not New Bern High School, you know. We lived in Charleston, right? We lived in Charleston,
Hmm.
and football was big down there. And I
Hmm.
remember we lived in Charleston, and I remember seeing AJ Green and Carlos Dunlap, AJ Green at Somerville, Carlos Dunlap,
Hmm.
Fort Dorchester on the same field, right? So
Yeah.
it's big time. But that being said, um,
Can we talk about the elephant in the room first?
Yeah, the elephant in the room.
Yeah,
The elephant. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And so
The,
the
the elephant
reality is,
is
yeah,
the
the
elephant
reality
is
is, regardless of how you feel about it,
yes,
if students played that were ineligible, regardless of the reason why they thought they were ineligible or they thought they were eligible, it doesn't matter. If they
yes,
played in the game or suited up and they weren't eligible, they forfeit the team forfeits the
yes,
game, and in this case, forfeit all the games and the championship. That's just
yes.
the bottom line.
Yeah, yeah. But put a period on it.
Yeah.
And that's why when I engage with some people, and I'll get back to my original point in a second, but that's why when I engage with some people about the situation, I hear all the other dynamics, all the other things going around and everything. But at the end of the day, I ask the question: were they eligible?
Yeah.
They want to talk about everything but that. But back to the original point to build it up. Um, anybody, no matter where you live, where there's a big time athletic program, right?
Hmm.
If you went to high school with athletes, especially good athletes or anyone, you clearly saw they got academic credit for work they did not do, right?
Yep.
Now, when I was in New Bern High School, now this part about people being absent, now it wasn't no people just skipping school and all that stuff and not coming to school.
Yeah.
Now, this is something new, just not coming to school for a whole, all that, that's new, right?
Yeah.
But the athletes came to school, but they sat in class and maybe slept and didn't do work. And I'm like, oh, y'all got y'all passed. So yeah, so it happens, right? And I talked about my experience and everything, and I talked about when I had a student athlete, you know,
Hmm.
a football player who didn't do work in my class, and he didn't do work in my class, and I gave him an opportunity to make up the work. He didn't do it, so I failed him, right? Of course, he needed the class to be eligible the next semester for
Hmm.
football, right? Um, I didn't pass him. Uh, they tried to kind of talk me and see what I can do. Can I do? I said, well, no. But if he does all of this here, he can do it, right? He didn't do the work. I failed him. Over the summer, magically, he passed and he's playing football, right? This does not happen in isolated incidents.
Yeah.
If athletes are good enough, or anybody, in the cases like that, more times than not, uh, they're getting credit they don't deserve,
Hmm.
uh, or what happened here. The only difference is that my first instinct was to report myself, but people don't realize there's a lot of pressure on educators, right? Sometimes educators are bullied. My hats off are to these teachers that spoke up,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the investigation, right? If you look at the investigation, they interviewed the teachers. The teachers had no idea, right? Now, from the standpoint of educator,
Allegedly
here's
had
how
no
it
idea.
works. Huh? Say
Allegedly.
again?
I don't know if it's been confirmed yet.
Yeah, the teachers. Yeah, allegedly. Yeah, but here's the thing. One thing. Here's one thing. A little side note. When you look at these the findings that are put out by the Board of Education,
Yeah.
anybody, and I notice a lot of teachers and principals didn't chime in on this, but here's how it works. Anything in these investigations, please believe they are reviewed by the board lawyer, right? Please understand that everything that is
Yeah.
put out there can be held up in the court of law, right? Now,
Yeah.
whether you don't like whatever behind it, if the teacher and they investigated and they came this and look, here's the thing. They didn't just investigate it, they had direct evidence
Yeah.
of the grade changes.
Yeah.
So the question now becomes, what reasons do you change a grade?
Yeah. That's yeah.
Yeah. So
Um. Well, I guess we can get into that, but I guess the the secondary issues is accountability
ah,
and who's so who's to blame.
Okay.
Um, I don't know. For me, I don't necessarily like to blame, but I say who's accountable, who's responsible.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, so it it well, and here's my thing, right? So, and I don't know, and I hear people say where some of the students were in difficult situations, in difficult homes, and things of that nature. So I'm not going to discount anything like that. But like I say, you know how we came up in Trent Court, right?
Hmm.
And I understand that, difficult times, difficult situations. So I'm not oblivious to that, and I'm not empathetic to that, right? Um, but here's the thing: um, if you don't go to class, right? That's a choice. If you
Hmm.
don't go to school for ever how many days, that's a choice. If you don't do your work, um, that's a choice, right?
Hmm.
So now, one thing about students, they're going to do what adults allow them to do, but still, you're not escaping accountability, right? Right. Another thing, second thing is the administrators or the coaches or whoever knew that these kids were not doing. And please, coaches know, right? They know. All
Of
right.
course they don't.
Yeah, they know, yeah. So don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So if you know students are not coming to school or not going to class or whatever, why are you not holding them accountable? Because you know the dynamics in place. You,
Correct.
you don't have to worry about it because you don't have to worry about it, right?
Correct.
But I said this, and I said this clearly. The buck stops with the parent, um, and not. And I know that a lot of people, whatever household you come from or what have you. But here's the thing.
So you don't think it
eh,
stops with the student athlete? We're talking about
What, what,
juniors and seniors.
yeah, well, that's why I said young adults.
Yeah.
They bear some. Yeah, because here's the thing, man. You're actually doing the student athlete a service, this service, because life doesn't work that way. Life is not going to give you something for something you don't earn or deserve. Earn, not given, right? But the parents bear some responsibility, a lot, in some cases, if this is the case, because you put more emphasis on the athletic side than the academic side, right? You go, and some go up and down the road to practice and go up and down the road to all the games and everything, but haven't been to one parent teacher conference. And I know how it goes. I've been in it long enough to see the dynamic, right?
Hmm.
Haven't been to one, and you can say, oh, I ran, oh, they ran, oh, they in the paper, they got 13 tackles, they ran 100 yards, but cannot name 3 classes on the high school transcript, right? So we can't ignore, like I said before, where attention goes, energy flows, right? Like I said before, you tell them get your grades out, you better be going to school, but that's not where you're putting your energy. They're going to see where you're putting your energy, and that's to the athletic side, and all that kind of plays into it, man. Um,
I
and, and of course the adult, and then the professionals, right?
Yeah.
Look, look. Here's what we know, man. Because as a child or as a student, just like when the sub came in, right? You know which sub was gonna be mean and which sub was not gonna be mean,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right. You
Yeah.
know what teacher you better be the class ready to work for the bell ring. So as adults, we adjust to what the power structure allows us to do. A lot of times in these situations with a lot of athletes, they're held to a different standard because they're athletes. I'll fall back a little bit, man. I'll fall
Well,
back
no,
a
no,
little
no.
bit.
You're right. I mean, I'm just speaking on the athletic side. I mean, I'll say even in high school. Now we're talking about 91, 92. I mean, we're talking about a little over 30 years ago. Even then, I knew where I stood in every class. You know what I mean? Because teachers know who are the athletes, and I
Yeah,
knew where I knew exactly where I stood. There was never a moment where I didn't know what my grades were, how I did on tests, because we talked about it.
yeah,
Yeah. Now, I guess the other issue is that Mama asked me what my grades were. I mean, so that's a whole. I remember being on punishment for 6 weeks at a time because
yeah,
you know. So
yeah. So
um,
yeah, what our mama was different, right? Our
yeah,
mama, my mama didn't
yeah,
play, but but at that point, there's the accountability piece, right?
yeah,
And so you do the deep diving. So one thing was said was it was the argument is that it was the principal's discretion. It's his right to change the grade, right? Uh, now, uh, the one thing about that reporter, God bless her, uh, she took what he said, right? And what she did, she sent that question to the state representative,
hmm
right? And what did the state representative do?
yeah.
Send it
We
to
yeah,
send it to the legal department for
yeah,
the state, who's responsible for interpreting
yeah,
the statutes, right?
yeah. And we
Now,
we talked
now
about it. I
here,
mean, we I learned something new. I didn't know.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So, so let's take my emotions out of it. Let's take my
Hmm
feelings out of it, and let's just speak what the facts was, right? So, when the state representative sent it to the legal people who actually
hmm
interpret and give a sound understanding,
hmm
they said clearly that the interpretation
Yeah,
by Mr. Simmons was not correct,
correct.
right? So, based on their understanding, now these are the people that are responsible for writing and implementing these laws all together. So,
Yeah,
you can't ignore that, right?
yeah.
And so, another thing that was at play, and a lot of people
Well,
about to
let's talk
forget.
about what the interpretation that was wrong, because the interpretation that was wrong is where the principal said that he had the authority to change individual grades.
Yes,
Now, I'm paraphrasing, but what the state rep, the folks who were in charge of interpreting it, they said that the principal is in charge of classification, meaning that dealing with, okay, ninth grader, 10th grader, 11th grader, 12th grader, that type of
yes,
classification. Not that he had the authority to go in and change a Spanish grade from a 40 to an 80. So
yes. And one thing too, man, and one thing about when we read, right? We I read something two times, right?
yeah,
I to be objective as possible, and the devil is in the details,
correct.
right? And one thing that caught my attention in the findings, right?
Hmm
And that's how you can tell this was thoroughly reviewed by these legal the board lawyers. Trust me, it was.
Oh, absolutely.
But
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. Is that when it came to the grade changes, his stance was that I do this for all my students, right?
hmm
All the students, right? New Bern High has, I think, 1,700 students, right? Of of all the students that was getting this treatment, they were predominantly on the football team.
Football team.
Facts. So now let me tell you something. Um, in a school of 1,600 plus students, that's a heck of a coincidence,
Yeah.
right? But here's the thing: people are being disingenuous when they say they don't understand this dynamic at play,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And this has nothing to do. And here's the thing: every school does it, right? The only problem is when somebody, whether a teacher or somebody, sees it and tells, right? Trust and believe, and any state championship team or any big time football program, no matter where you are. And this may be people may say, oh, how you know? Look, more than likely you have one or two, at least one or two, whatever, that receive some academic credit, right? Or got a passing grade for work they did not do. I mean, it's so prevalent. The only thing is you got caught, right?
Yeah,
You
but
got caught.
yeah, but reading a lot of comments on the individual post, um, that every school does it is still not an excuse,
Well,
and
no,
that's
exactly.
but that's the argument that I saw
Yeah,
a lot of people making where everybody does it. Well, I mean, that's not an excuse.
that's right. And that's the thing. It's not an excuse. And it's, as an educator, it's sickening, to see it, because you see it on such a level, and teachers, and sometimes I hate to say it, sometimes the pressures that sometimes put on teachers to uh bow down and give the student credit. When the
Yeah.
coach come by, and the administrator gives that little nudge, like, yeah, that kind of thing. That totally happens. Case in point, Joanne, our sister,
Hmm.
she I don't know if she wanted to chime in or not, but she ran track. First of all, Joanne's one of the top track stars ever come out of Newbern High School, multiple state championships. Got a scholarship to UNC Chapel Hill. Could have got academic as well, because she was academics, a great student athlete. But nevertheless, Chapel Hill, everybody remembers when Chapel Hill got in trouble for having to fake classes,
Yeah.
right? Giving students academic credit for work they didn't do. Alabama did it, Georgia did, everybody did, but Chapel Hill got caught.
Hmm.
People think this just happens when you get to college,
Yeah.
right? No. Once it's always the revenue earning sports, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times, right? And another thing, that the sports, unfortunately, that are more times than like predominantly African American, right? Unfortunately, that this happens too. And what happens is what you have here. And it's unfortunate, because, like I said, when these kids graduate from high school, right, life is not going to give them the same uh,
Yeah.
treatment or pampering that high school or college gave you, if you got credit and things for work you didn't do. And you're walking out and you graduating with these diplomas, and that are filled with credit recovery. And I'll,
Yeah.
and I'll explain that is, because that's a big thing too, credit recovery.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of weight trainings that really do you no good in preparing you for life after high school. They keep you eligible for sports, right? Anything to stay eligible, but watch your plan when you don't get the D1 scholarship, right? Or when you don't get the D2 scholarship or anything,
Yeah.
right? Now it's time for you to go and probably go to college, but you've never been forced to be academically disciplined to do work, because everything was given to you. And I want to make sure to get this. I'm not trying to say this is the whole football team, right?
No,
It's it,
no, no, it's not. Yeah.
it's no, it's not no, but yeah. But like I said, it was enough for this to be an issue. Yeah,
That's
and so
crazy.
those are the things people are not willing to address. Now I see people on, man. If you got any questions or comment, please chime in. Please chime in.
Um, can you explain credit recovery?
Yes. So, and it's it's unfortunate. So here's credit recovery. Um, let's say I'm in history class, right?
Hmm.
And I took history. And let's say for whatever reason, because I didn't go to class, or because I didn't study, or because whatever, I flunked history, right? And let's say my grade was like a 60 or a 40, right?
Yeah.
A 40, that's going to impact your GPA, right?
Yep.
So what happens is credit recovery is like uh, where you can take units or take the course on a computer. And if you pass a certain percentage of these modules or what have you, then you get a pass or fail, right?
Yes.
But
So pass or fail doesn't. So that's yeah. Go ahead.
what you about to say? What are you about to say?
Well, it pass or fail doesn't mean a D to a A or a
So
D
so
to a B.
here's the part where people don't understand. That's why when when I heard the explanations and I heard Mr. Simmons speaking, and I understand he's popular, I understand he's well beloved, and I understand it all that I get it.
Yeah.
But I'm listening at him through the lens of an educator, right? Through
Yep.
the ears of an educator. I'm also listening to him as a person who's married to a dynamic administrator, right? Who understands this. So when I hear these things, I know exactly where the BS is, right?
Yeah.
Just to say exactly. I know you know it. A lot of people don't have this perspective, right? So with credit recovery, the key thing is that it does not impact your GPA. So in other words, if you get that pass, you're still failing, right? Now, what
Yes.
does that have to do with football, right, or any sport, right? Here's where the rubber hits the road. According to the High School Athletic Association, and look, go back and fact check me if I'm saying wrong. Please tell me I'm wrong, right? You have to have a certain GPA, right, and have attended a certain amount of time to be eligible to play sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in this credit recovery, right, and your GPA is still below that mandated part, you're still ineligible, right? So, but what happens is if you go in and you change your grade for the purposes of raising the GPA, that person was still ineligible. Now, whether
Yeah.
you change it or what, according to North Carolina High School Ethical Association, if you were a failing grade, you're ineligible. Now, if the principal goes and changes the grade, it doesn't change the fact that that's what you earned.
Yeah. One of the things that and I'm reading the article now. He
Yeah,
said that, and you're right. Um, well-meaning. He definitely comes across as well-meaning. I've never seen him before
yeah.
or heard of him before until I saw the interview that he did. But one of the things that he um, kept chiming in on was that all students don't learn at the same rate, and so he says that he doesn't know any administrators who don't use the power that they have or the authority that they have to kind of rectify the fact that all students don't learn at the same rate
So what this calls?
because of external circumstances.
Here's the thing, man. I taught in alternative school, right? I had kids in my classroom coming from all types of situations, right? And as an instructional leader, yes, that I understand that, right? So I had a student um, 1 year during COVID, right? His parents lost their jobs, right? He
Mm-hmm.
was working at one of the turkey houses, right? The night shift. He'll come into my class, right? I'll let him sleep for 15 minutes, right? At a time. I said, all right, man, you gotta wake up. Let's get some work done, right?
Yeah.
So, but and of course, I didn't make his test as difficult as everybody else, right? Because I understood the extenuating circumstances, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it has nothing to do with me uh, changing a grade. It's me understanding the dynamics, right? Understanding that he has an extenuating circumstances, that he's a primary breadwinner for his family, and I'm not going to hold him to the same standard as the other kids, right? So I totally get that, and I get that some kids also learn differently because they have different learning styles.
Mm-hmm.
Some kids maybe have 504s and all that. Totally understand that, right? But
But they can
that's
learn
why
that
you have,
playbook.
huh?
I say, but they can learn that playbook.
Yeah, see, that's the crazy part, man. That look,
I know.
but, but
I'm just saying,
man,
but I'm
look,
just throwing it in. I'm just throwing it in there, man.
yeah, I know, man. I know, man. I know. But you're right. But where attention goes, energy flows, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I- so he's saying that changing grades is a way. No, no, no. For an educator, you work in conjunction. We have these meetings where we discuss kids, right? We have these meetings that where kids that are in danger of failing,
Mm-hmm.
you talk at the midway. You have a meeting with the staff, right? And with these kids in danger of failing, what strategies do you put in place to help them? That's when you do what you. That's what you're supposed to be talking about, right? So kids that are, and you identify them. Now, if you haven't been going to class or coming to school at all, that's an issue, right? So when I hear that, I'm like, yeah, staff, teachers, when you make contact with the parents, you also got this thing called Power School.
Yeah.
You remember Power School?
Mm-hmm.
Power School is if your child was absent, right, or whatever going on, you get that Power School alert, right?
Yeah.
If you, some people just cut off on their phone, right, because they get ding ding ding, right? So it's not like the these kids are put in a situation where nobody's taking into account what their living conditions is or anything like that. But this has been happening forever. Uh, the key thing is that if you have kids that, like I said before, that don't do the work, right? Despite chances they've given, right? You at the end go and change grades. I mean, you can't do it. I mean, that
Yeah.
plain and simple.
And then the other part is you have to think just on the athletic side is that when it gets to the point where you're actually a teacher is actually going to fail you, um, you you've had so many chances. Like
Yeah.
I just know that even from my experience, um, it you know look I've been there, man. Didn't go to class. I mean wasn't going to class. I mean every, because I'm tired. Um, and so the teacher really stays on. I mean the teacher is really involved. At least my experience, and she finally said, hey, you will fail if you don't come in and make up this work.
Yeah.
And for me, it wasn't about ability. It wasn't about what's the word I'm looking for, cognitive ability to be able to do the work. I just didn't feel like going to class. There are some people, and look, I had a lot of players that I played with that were really smart, and they didn't have to go to class. They really didn't have to take notes, and they still passed. Everybody's not like that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
when you talked about where does this get you when you going into the real world, there are some people who can get by and still make it in the real world outside of sports. The majority of the
Yeah.
folks, I don't think they can.
Yeah.
And so
And and, and
I just
here
want to throw
here's
that
the
in there.
yeah. And hold up. Look, I'm looking at Miguel. What's up, Miguel? I see Miguel says exactly playbook now the history book exactly. Thanks,
Oh,
Miguel, our cousin.
yeah, yeah. What do you say? Exactly. Playbook and not a
What what this is why schools should have who's Leroy Smith. This
Leroy.
is
What's
what
going on,
schools
Leroy?
should have. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, man. I, I don't want people to think that we're against sports, right? All my
Oh, I
kids
played
play
sports.
sports.
Yeah.
They play sports and everything. And but here's the thing. Here's what people forget. Football is an extracurricular activity, right? Basketball is an extracurricular activity. The Quiz Bowl team is an extracurricular activity. The Spanish club is an extracurricular activity, right? What's the key word in all that word? Curricular,
Yeah.
right? Now, the only difference is that football is a revenue generating sport,
Yeah.
right? And when you're dealing with revenue generating sports and money and stuff, is tied to winning. These coaches and everything, everything is tied to winning. This is where, unfortunately, this thing happens, right? It becomes more about winning than about sometimes, I'm not saying all cases, but everywhere I have gone, Anthony,
Mm-hmm.
everywhere I have lived, when it comes to big time athletics, winning becomes the primary objective and not the
Of course.
education and
Yeah.
preparing these kids for life.
Yeah.
Point blank.
But getting back to the New Bern fans who are still mad, and they still don't think it's fair. Um, what do you say to them?
Uh, so are are you upset? Yeah, I'm upset that New Bern lost the state championship. That was a great game. I'm upset that the championship was taken away. Right? I was there with my grandson and my wife and everybody. We watched the game and New Bern showed out. The fans, man, I'm telling you, there's nothing like it. Right? Um, but I'm also upset why we lost it. And
Yeah.
and the issue is now people are kind of having an issue in dealing with the why.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell you who I feel bad for. I feel bad for the the football players who are doing the right thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Um, and I feel bad for, I don't know if you pronounce it Grimsley or Grimsley.
Grimsley. Yeah, that guy said it wrong. Grimsley.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel bad for Grimsley because the argument could be made. We don't we I from what I understand, um, the student athletes who were ineligible, they haven't been identified.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
so, there are a lot of people who are saying, well, we're champions anyway. They can't. Well, the argument could be made if the students who were ineligible, if they had they not played, would New Bern had even made it to a state championship game?
Yeah.
We don't
That
know.
part. That's about an argument. Yeah.
Yeah,
And so and another thing, man, with that and those players, um, who's that? Let me go say. I say grown elders continue to stay. Yeah.
yeah, do better.
What Miguel say?
He said, "I say to the grown elders that continue to say it wrong, do better." Because what's the message that you're sending to the kids?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like the students, they
Yeah.
know who they are, but what message are they hearing from the community when we're saying, "Oh, they were robbed and they were," because you cannot
Yeah.
absolve them from their responsibility. They show
Yeah.
up. It's
Yeah.
easier in high school than it is in college. I'll tell you that right now.
Well,
Yeah,
and, and so and now now the thing is they're everybody's saying that the superintendent and I don't know much about her. They said that this why did the superintendent self-report and everything.
hmm
The question that you ask is not the fact that she self-reported,
that's
but
why.
is
Yeah,
what she self-reported true,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And another thing, we clearly just said early, because I was going back and forth with a cousin, with a family member from New Bern about it's within his discretion, within discretion. Well, we just showed you that his interpretation of it was incorrect,
Yeah.
right?
And if you go back and look at the article, I wish I should have shared. You know what? Let me share the article. Go ahead, keep
Yeah,
talking. I'm gonna find the article.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so yeah. So now that you know the interpretation is incorrect, what do you say? So to my New Bern fans and get it, I feel sorry for those parents of the students that the majority of them that went to class and did the right thing and didn't have to have the grades changed,
Yeah,
right? That is the most tragic part of it, right? All the investment that the parents they put into it and everything. But what happens is it's a team sport.
Yes.
And so when a team sport and the rules are clear. So I don't know. Yeah, to the numerous fans that are upset and and calling conspiracy theories and all these things. No, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's politics aside. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
It's pretty
No.
simple.
Yeah.
And and I ask and I every time I ask this question, nobody wants to answer it directly. And so, were they eligible?
Yeah. That's really that's I mean eh,
Yeah, yeah.
that's the
Were
point. Were they
were
eligible?
they eligible?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah.
Yeah.
So and also I look at the school board and a lot of people were also saying racism, right?
Yeah, I saw
Uh,
that too. Yeah.
is a racism and one thing about me, anybody that knows me, if I will call it out, right? And anyway, and so the thing is when I look at I watch the school board meetings, right? And I look at the representation on the school board,
Hmm.
right? And I think the representation is only one African American on the school board, and I think that lady is from the Havelock district, right? I also look at I also me because I'm gonna do the deep dive, right? I'm gonna go
Hmm.
all in. I went back and I looked at the last school board election, right?
Yeah.
And there was an African American up there on the I think Vic Dove. He was on the school board. He was a member of
Hmm.
the school board. He lost by what less than 100 votes, right? So, but I also looked at how many people voted, right? And so this is another caveat to the parents that are upset, right? Is that the school board are elected officials, right? These elected officials hire superintendents.
Yeah.
They affect policy, right? Politics is local, right?
Yeah.
Um, if you're not engaged in the political process or engaged, not just when one thing happens that you want to go to the school board and speak, even this thing here, if you're not overall engaged in the process and something like this happens, um, are you voting? And here's another thing: a lot of people are saying, "Now I'm gonna vote for the school board. I'm gonna vote. I'm gonna vote. I'm gonna vote. No, I'm gonna run for school board because I'm upset about this one thing here,
Yeah.
right?" And but what happens is once you get on the school board and they got this thing called closed session, and you go back and you discuss these personnel issues, and you look at the whole situation, not just a narrative that one part puts out, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, it may be a different story coming out forward. What did Joanne say? What did Joanne say?
It's about attendance as well.
Yeah. Oh man, look, I, I don't. So the attendance issue, I don't even know how can you even defend that, right?
Hmm.
Uh, Kids not going to school. Now, some said they had extenuating circumstances. I hear some stories about what's going on, right? And I get it.
But they made the practice.
You made the practice.
What
you, you,
are we talking about?
you made
Practice?
it to you made it to you made it to the games.
Yeah.
So 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 I'm not so yeah so I hear all these stories and everything, but I don't know if anybody from New Bern is listening who is how can I say who is uh thinking there's still a conspiracy, what have you. If I thought New Bern was robbed, if I thought New Bern was did wrong, if I in my heart of hearts, I'd be
Hmm.
the main one bringing out stuff. Yeah, this is why. This is why. And as me, I want New Bern to be right. I want New Bern to keep the championship. But also, I'm intellectually honest. I can't unsee what I see, and I
Yeah.
can't unknow what I know. And I understand how these dynamics work. So yeah,
All right. Well, I know it's getting almost at the top of the hour. About to watch some football and some basketball, so
Yeah,
we ain't gonna keep people on long. But you got any
yeah.
what else you got?
Man, it's so many
It's
ways to go into, man.
yeah.
But I'm gonna repeat something that I said uh, in the video, in all sincerity. Um, and this is from the perspective of a person who has kids that were student athletes. I've mentored a lot of athletes throughout the years who totally understand it, and I'll say it facts. Um, there's nothing wrong with sports, right? It is a great avenue to learn leadership skills, transferable skills for life, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it should not be your plan A, right? Um, the championship ring that you win is going to tarnish, and you can't go apply to no job or nothing and say this is this here, hire me, right?
Yeah.
And I would never say give up on your dream, right?
Yeah.
I remember you said you want. You remember say you were. I remember you said you want to go pro, right?
I did.
I'm going to
Yeah.
the league, yeah. And
Yeah.
and I'll never say give up on your dream, but I also say look at the reality, right? Look at your high school, right? Look at the last 25 years.
Yeah.
How many kids from your school have gone pro,
Well, even
right?
Newburn, how many people in the last 30 years have gone pro? Brian
Man,
Simmons and Jeremy
Jerry
McDaniel.
McDaniel, one guy I forgot of Drew. I think Drew, Monterio Hardesty. Newburn got more than most. I will
Yeah.
say that, right?
But more
Let's
than
say,
most, we're talking about out of all the people that play.
but you talk about hundreds and hundreds and thousands and hundreds of players,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So let's say for the argument's sake, we've had 10,
Yeah.
right? Over the last 30 years, we've had 10 go pro.
Yeah.
Like we had a guy that played Yankees. Adam Drew played Yankee for the Yankees. Was a pitcher,
Mm-hmm.
right, for the Yankees, right? So let's say 10
Yeah.
gone pro. Divide into 10 everybody that has ever played the sport in the 10.
Yeah.
There are your chances. And secondly, if you can't do that math right there, you need to focus more on academics anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
saying with sports and everything is it shouldn't be a means to an end, right? It should be a good leadership thing, a good teamwork thing. But if your dream is to go pro and you're doing everything and you're taking all these credit recoveries, all these weight trainings, at some point life is gonna come in.
Man, you mentioned something about championship rings, man. What they do with the championship rings now? You
Well,
remember
well,
all that
see,
money that was raised about those championship rings?
yeah, well, they gonna keep the rings because they purchased them, but they gotta
Yeah.
send back all the banners. They gotta send back that $38,000. You know, they gotta send back those things.
Wow.
You know,
Mm.
and like I said, um, the rings people are defiant because
Yeah.
for those players who for those players who did the right thing and went to school, they got those rings. They feel like they should wear them with pride, and they probably
Yeah.
still should wear them with pride
Yeah.
because they put in the work. Um, it's just not going to be recognized on a state level,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. So, yeah, I mean, I could go in some more, man.
Yeah. I mean,
We just
yeah.
touched the tip of the iceberg. It's a
Yeah.
whole lot more, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, point blank, no matter what side you fall in this situation, what have you, if you really look at this objectively and take your emotions out of it, um, there were a number of kids who failed academically for not going to school or not getting the right grade. They were ineligible,
Yeah.
period. Um,
Yeah.
the principal changed the grade, thus making them eligible.
Correct.
Um, the superintendent used her discretion
Yeah. Yeah.
and discretion, right? Everybody talk about the word discretion, who got right? and reported to the North Carolina High School Athletic Association
Yeah.
based on the rules, and it was posted in the article on the rules. Kids have to have a certain GPA and have to have had attended a certain amount of time to be eligible.
A 2.0 GPA.
A 2 point, the bare minimum, the two.
Yeah, I know. I know. I read that today. A 2.0.
Which the bare minimum, a
Yeah.
2.0,
Yeah.
right,
2.0.
to be eligible,
Yeah.
and kids didn't do it.
Yeah.
He changed the grades. They had to forfeit.
Yep.
They told them that to contact the state representatives and to go back and call everybody and to they can reverse this. They have the power to reverse this. No, they don't. I read the state bill, man. See, here's the thing:
Hey,
people are not doing the research. I
hey,
read the law. The new law went in
hey.
October.
I got one
Yeah,
thing to say, man.
yeah.
And I don't know if this is gonna be controversial or not,
Oh boy.
but nah, man. How the football coach gonna leave? I
Uh,
mean, the football coach, whatever his name was, I don't know what his name was.
yeah. Oh no,
He left and went to Durham
easy,
Hillside.
easy. And here's the thing.
I mean, come on, man.
Easy. I mean, it's easy to leave, right? But because I said this clearly, the only people that benefit from the state championship truly
Yeah,
benefit, is the coach
yeah,
because of status. He gets that little bonus, and the athletic department that got all that money.
yeah,
You know, the players get the rings and the plaques and everything. So, and that's for his career.
yeah.
So, of course, he'll move on to the next group of kids. Now, I mean, I don't know him personally.
I don't
I
know in
don't
person,
know him,
man, but
whatever.
just to leave the kids like that, man. That's just,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
I don't know.
But then again, Ed, I mean,
Yeah.
what's the first law of nature?
I don't know
Self
what
self preservation.
self preservation. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
I
so
guess.
I can't besmirch him or anything.
Yeah,
He made a business decision, a family decision, and
yeah,
apparently right now a smart decision.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah. That's where we are, man. So um like I said, I hate it for him, and I hate it for the community, and I hate it for my folks in New Bern. But if you take all of the innuendo and all the he's saying all this conspiracy theories, and just look straight to the facts, just look
yeah,
straight what the coach left with lost his way, then you'll come to a sound conclusion. But it hurts. It hurts. So
things aren't. Hey, Miguel, what's going on with the coach at Hillside? What's going on with him?
yeah, yeah. He said things aren't looking good for that coach now here at Durham Hillside. He's currently at Hillside. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, he's probably rebuilding there. I mean, one thing
yeah.
about it, he's rebuilding. So
Well, I think that's about it for today, man. You got any closing thoughts, man? I guess you just said what you. Oh, they're. He said they're currently talking about protesting to get rid of him.
well,
Wow.
I know. Well, I mean that's that. I mean
Wow.
that's yeah, yeah. Them Durham, they're a different type of folk, man.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
no, no, no. My closing thoughts is this here, man, and I think we just kind of summed it up, man. I am always concerned. It is more, as you know, it is more difficult to go out in this world and to make a living, to support yourself and sustain yourself and a family,
hmm
right? Your best chance, and this is regardless of your whether it's socioeconomics, whatever, is access to a good education,
yeah,
right? And unfortunately, a lot of these kids, some kids, and I see it, they're graduating what I call empty diplomas, right?
yeah,
Full of credit recoveries and classes, a whole bunch of weight training, nothing that's going to help them in life. And that's my concern
yeah,
because it's always predominantly the African American dominated sports that this tends to happen to on a large basis because They're probably because the exploitation factor is just a plain and simple. So, that's my thing, man. I'm not saying that don't do sports or whatever, but please have your priorities intact. And as a parent, if your child is not doing what they're supposed to do in school, have that courage to pull them off that team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, have the courage. I mean, if they're flunking and doing all this stuff and whatever and not what they're supposed to do, say, parent, man, you ain't gonna play. Point blank. That's all I
Yeah.
got, man.
Man, I saw this movie a while back called Friday Night Lights. Um and what was his name? Booby Miles or Booby Mills. He was
Yeah,
that running back, and
yeah,
he had a knee injury. It's a good movie. You haven't seen it, but he
yeah,
had a knee injury. Then he had another knee injury. Went to the doctor. They told him he wasn't gonna play football no more. Walked out with his head up, and then went in the car with his uncle, and just fell apart because he was like, "What am I gonna do without football?" He said, "I can't do
yeah,
nothing but play football." That's like one of
yeah,
the most powerful scenes that I've ever seen in a movie. That it hits you, like the
yeah,
realization um that I don't know. I'm thinking about it now. The realization that something that you prepared for, and that's the only thing that was your only priority, your way out, and then it's taken away from you, and then you get that
yeah,
realization. Life comes at you hard.
yeah, yeah.
So
And
that's
look,
all I
and
got.
yeah, that's cool, man. That's right. That's right.
All
And
right.
as a way out, and like I
Yeah.
said, man, like I said, since when did sports become a way out?
Yeah.
It it
Yeah.
could it could be a plan. It could be part of the plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
But looking at the statistics and the odds, you know,
Yeah.
go with the high percentage
Yep.
if at all possible.
All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in. We'll
Yes.
be back in a few weeks. We got some hard hitting topics coming up. We're gonna
Oh
talk
yeah.
about the Palestine, Israel. We're gonna talk about
Yeah.
the new House Speaker, the House of Representatives. So we
We-
got a lot of things coming up. So tune in, and as always, thank you all for your support.
We're gonna talk about the
Uh,
walls closing in on Trump.
yeah, yeah. The walls definitely close in on Trump. So
Yeah.
all right, take care, people.
Take care. Thanks, Jim. All right.